Okay, that's the setup. So I had to play a little bit just to get set up. So I'll try and play with sort of minimal exploits. This ace-8 can check back some of the time. It's actually a decent hand to check back. The ace-10 can go either way. It's a mixed frequency 3-bet. If we're 3-betting, we're going 4 or 5x. I like 4x out of the small blind. So we can, this ace-8 here, so this would categorize into the marginal value. I'm not happy to play for stacks, but I can beat some hands, so generally we're going to be playing for 2 streaks of value there. Over here we can actually check the ace-10. This is basically the same situation on the left and the right. Over here on the left, obviously we've got a bluff catcher, which we're calling. We win. Over here on the left, on the right, in a 3-bet pot, we've got marginal value, so we can check there. The reason that we're checking is because we don't, once again, we're not happy getting all the money in ace-10 there. It gives him a chance to bluff, etc., etc. When he snap checks back, we're probably always good. We don't know what we're going to be doing on a spade run out, so I'm actually going to check this twice. I don't think that he's necessarily got a load of flushes. It's just, should he call and it comes a jack, a spade or whatever, it's never going to be a clean run out. We can defend queen 9 here, obviously, in the big blind. So over here, once he checks twice, we've almost always got the best hand. So we're just going to size up for value and go about 2/3 pot. The queen 9 will always check to the razor versus under the gun. So when he bets here, this is actually a check raise hand. We block some of his continues. We block like 2 seconds. We block some of his continues and stuff like that. His queen 10, blah blah blah. We expect to get a decent amount of folds here, and if we raise and he jams, we don't care. We've only got like a gut shot and stuff. But we raise here and take it down. We've obviously got a gut shot. We've got an overcard. We've got backdoor hearts. It's not a board that he hits all that often either. But we can hit it with more 2 pairs than he can. He's not going to be opening like 10-8 under the gun, at least he shouldn't be. But we can certainly defend 10-8 suited, therefore we can raise that. We can rep a lot of hands there. We can represent a ton of hands, whereas he's got less hands, so it makes a good raise candidate, especially with the backdoor equity. And as I said, if we raise and he jams, it's fine. We had a gut shot, and then, you know, we had some equity, but it's not enough equity that we care about folding, basically, that we really don't want to fold, basically. And we get to see the flop for cheap here. I would usually ISO raise this, but like, and then bet flop and expect folds. But since we're playing more theoretical, we'll just take it without those exploits sort of thing, just so you can get an idea what you should be doing. So when he starts checking down here, he's saying that he's got showdown value. That could be pocket 2s, it could be a random 6 or something like that, but we've got a 5, so we don't want to turn this into a bluff or anything like that. So these are the sort of hands, by the way, where he's got pocket 4s, obviously, which is one of the category of hands that he'd be snap checking back. So interestingly, like, we've got one of the category of hands that can fall into a check raise range sometimes when we have value, but this isn't a great sort of one. Like, we're never calling here. I'm not thinking about calling ever, because people don't bluff like that at this stake at all. They're not checking back a strong hand just to thing it, so they've probably just got, I thought it was an underpair, like pocket 2s, pocket 4s, whatever it would be. When he overbets river, it's just usually always pocket 4s there. So ace-8 offsuit on the button here. Exploitatively, you could 3-bet like small versus a short stack, but fold. I'll try and keep that. I'll try and keep that noise down, because there's a lot of spots that I would exploitatively do something different. I won't talk about all of them, just in case it's confusing. Like 10-8, for example, is one of them that I would talk about and then do something different there. But for now, we'll just play solid. Ace-5 is just an easy open, 3x out of the big blind, small blind into the big blind. And we can 4-bet this some of the time. If he 3-bets, we can actually 4-bet that hand some of the time. Except at this stake, I expect them to be under 3-bet in that spot, so it makes 4-bet bluffing a little bit less attractive. So we defend the big blind here. We've got more 5s than anybody else in this hand, and we also block kings and queens, which is one of their continues. When he bets pot into two people, it is pretty strong. It makes it less attractive to actually raise here, albeit if he bet a lower size in, then I can actually maybe do something funky here, but we're not gonna. So kings in the small blind, obviously a decent open. We get a call, so this is a flop that we're going to be checking almost always. Just 3-5, we don't have those hands nearly as often as he does. When he checks back, it's a really good sign. He can obviously have queen x here and then call twice, which is nice. So when he min raises here, it's very odd. We can take this two ways. We'll take it into a call line, and then we'll be probably calling rivers. Yeah, so this is a play that he was trying to buy showdown. So if I gave a shit about this limit, what I would do is I would immediately mark him and say that he raised to get a cheap showdown. So he's got like queen 10, jack queen, yeah. So he raised to get a cheap showdown basically, and he's raising in case that I've got spades or something like that. So when you see those kind of weakish sort of raises on the turn, you expect them to check back the river a lot. That said, you're getting into dicey water if you start 3-betting the turn, but you can alter some plays with some very specific hands, but these are just exploits. The standard there would be to call, and the reason for it is because once again the same applies in the flop, is theoretically he's got a lot stronger hands than I do, and they can check some of those back on the flop, so yeah, he's still got not advantage over us, even if we have range advantage, so we don't want to be bloating the pot too big in that situation. 3-5 is just a fold here in the small blind, big blind, sorry. Ace queen's just an easy open. I can't go 2 point. It's annoying that I can't raise to 2.4 here. My buttons obviously aren't set. So ace 5-5, we can check back or we can bet small. Usually you'd be checking back this flop. They've got more fives than you do. So theoretically I'll check it back. Exploitatively I'll just bet everything. And then we'll bet on the turn. And he just folds, which is going to happen a lot there. It's hard for him to have a hand that wants to continue. I might up the raise size into 3x instead of 2x. I prefer opening to 3 big blinds than 2, but I prefer 2.4, 2.5 over all of them. But it won't let me do that on 1-2. So 7 deuce is just a fold. Even if you're getting great pot odds, you're just not going to realise your equity enough. Ace 9 is technically a fold here, but I'm going to open it. This would have served better actually as a 2x open, not a 3. So when we get 3-bet here, it's not obviously great. We'll just be folding to 3-bet here. So this is fold or 4-bet. We're just going to fold here. I don't expect light 3-bets. We're going to 3-bet the king 10 suited out the small blind, even if this is going to be a slightly tighter opening range. Like, what you'll expect to see from these people is like the grinders that are sitting there like grinding out, like properly grinding out like 2 NLs in or something like that. They're not doing anything fancy, and nor should they be. Like, they can just play ABC and win. So when they open a cutoff range, it's just going to be a strong cutoff range. For example, this guy is obviously not a regular, so we can 3-bet or we can fold. I did folding is just standard. 3-bet this spot is pretty light, so we'll just fold the 3s there. Even though I don't necessarily, I prefer to do a lot of different things in all of these hands at these limits to maximise what I'm making. But it's very important to learn just how to play solidly. You don't need to win every hand. If the board runs out terrible, it's okay, just fold. You know, and then some spots are definitely spots that you would bluff. So this spot here, interestingly, is this board smashes us. So we can lead this board on the left. We don't have the right hand to do it again. Like, so theoretically, I'm just checking and folding here, but this is a board that the small blind won't hit that much, and neither will the button opening. So we can actually bet there fairly frequently and expect to win fairly frequently. Okay, so when it checks round and then it checks again, we're going to bet here, and we'll bet 2. 5s as a fold versus a limp. It's very close if there's no limp. So when he calls out the from the button here, he can have loads of hands. He can have 7-8 as a very prevalent hand, which just made an 8. We've got showdown value, so we're checking. Our hand went from marginal value to bluff catcher. Like it slipped straight from marginal value into a bluff catcher. So I'm expecting to see 7-8 here a lot, but sometimes miss diamonds, so we'll call. And queen 4, that's fine. That's another hand that you could have as 4x. So it's important to know that obviously on the river it's a check call. It's definitely not another bet. We're not getting called by worse when we bet the river there, so it falls into check call category, which is the bluff catching category. And on that run out, he's going to have a lot of hands that want to bluff, basically. And it's very hard for him to have a value hand, apart from 7-8. Okay, so ace-jack is a 3-bet or fold here. So this is going to fall into the category of what I was saying before, where we've got a grinder that's just opening a solid hijack range. That said, ace-jack offsuit's still fine to 3-bet here, but this is a 3-bet bluff at this point. It's not 3-betting for value, it's a 3-bet bluff. And instant 4-bet, so we just fold here, albeit I'd love to do some things with these regs, honestly. I'm pretty sure exploitatively I win this pot in a 3-bet pot, but we'll fold and do the discipline thing. So I expect to see this a lot from this situation where it's just a grinder doing that sort of thing. We'll respect his range advantage in this situation, but I know what his leaks are going to be, and I'd rather do something differently post-flop. But we'll play solid for now. So queen 6 suited is a fine open into the big blind. And facing 3-bet, you should just fold here. It pains me to do this. Pains me to do this. King Queen versus this open is theoretically sound, is pretty nitty pre-flop, that's for sure. And it's not taking full advantage, but the problem is when you try and take full advantage of players is you do need to know how to play the game first, is the bottom line to it. If you don't know how to do what I'm doing and what you should be doing, then you're going to have so many holes in your game that, it's not going to be good. So 5-6 is a low frequency defend here. Mostly it's just a fold, but since I feel like I'm calling it one time. And a really good flop for us, obviously. He should be checking this flop at a high frequency. When he does, when he doesn't check it at a high frequency, it's very strange. He should be checking this at a very high frequency, and we're immediately going to punish him for this. And we'll be getting it in, and when we get in, we're actually doing fine against overpairs here. And we just jam here now that we've got a 6. A 6 is good because we move ahead of ace-king suited, which is ace-king of clubs, except he shouldn't really have that handle that often. And now he's in a disgusting spot, isn't he? So what do you do with queens in his spot where the board runs out like this and somebody's shoving? Even if he calls queens, we've got 35% equity, which is great. Which is why you check the flop. And you won't get put in this spot. But a lot of the time I've just got a straight, I've got a set, I've got 2 pair, whatever. And he folds. That's why you don't bet the flop, mate. That's why it's theoretically bad to bet that flop. Because the minute somebody takes a hand like I've got and starts being aggressive with it, what do? You feel terrible. And 6-9, you can open the button here. We'll fold this time. Ace-9 is close again. This time we'll fold. King-Jack, you can 3-bet or fold. Versus under the gun, you should really just be folding here. It's pretty nitty, but I'm not happy about it either. 9-10's a fold. Now I'll go on for a few more hands and then I'll cut out. It's just to give a rough idea of what's going on. Okay, so we can peel with the Jack-10 versus 2.5 with a squeeze in the middle. It's not really that profitable, it's probably neutral. It's probably just breaking even, but we'll see what happens, because why not? We get a really good flop. So we don't get to lead this flop, but we can certainly check raise. and they'll have quite a few hands that they want to continue and stuff like that. Okay, so we don't get to bet this card either because this is a huge advantage card for the Under the Gun raiser. He's going to have a lot more ace-x than anybody else. This guy can also have ace-x, like ace whatever. So when it checks through twice, it's not ideal. It looks like they were both just set mining at this point, most likely. I mean, the Under the Gun can still have an ace to check the turn, that's fine. In which case, we are just going to bet 5 on the river, and we're bet folding here, by the way. We're not bet calling. And the reason for it is that this guy can wake up with like pocket 8, say that either of them could have a flush at this point. We do block some of the flushes with a 10, but then a 10 would have bet off on the turn or on the flop from this guy, so it's not that relevant a blocker. So on the left table over here, we're checking, and we win a small pot here, but that's absolutely fine. And there's a chance that we get outdrawn, but that's fine. We're respecting the range advantage. So on the left table, once it goes check, we've got the best hand fairly often. But again, we're going to check. We don't have a marginal value hand. We don't have a hand to value bet. You can start value betting. We've got a bluff catcher. And in this spot, we're not letting go of our ace high hands. So we need to continue here versus half pot. With a lot of hands, and ace-x is pretty high up in our category. So we're check calling here with the ace. We'll consider folding this river, albeit it's not the most relevant river. So he had a 4, which is absolutely fine. I don't care. I expect to see those kind of hands more than I do bluffs at this stake. Higher up, people aren't going to be checking down like 6 high when they could bluff. So 7s, you can start opening under the gun here. Like 6s is about the cutoff. 7s and above is pretty good. Still bottom of the pair range, but still pretty good. And against that call range, we're betting a king high flop with all our hands. So we're going to start with, on this board, we're going to start with a medium size bet, or we can go big. This isn't a board that you bet 33% usually, but you can get away with it. So we'll go half pot on this one. It's nice with a diamond as well. So an ace is a fantastic turn because if he calls king X on the flop, then he almost never has ace king because he would have 3-bet that pre. This is a spot where we're turning our hand into a bluff now, and we're basically overbetting most of our hands at this point that are continuing and not checking back, that is. And also on that spot with the overbet, we are ahead of some hands, like diamond combos, for example. We are ahead of like queen jack and stuff like that. Queen jack of diamonds, queen 10 of diamonds. Jack 10, all of those have to call, and then they'll check river and we check back. After you overbet turn, a lot of the time it's less good to start continuing on the river without it. Because a lot of the time you'll be blocking the hands that you are ahead of. In that exact case with the 7s, we actually have a triple barrel spot where we would be blasting rivers. But a lot of the time we're going to have like jack queen ourselves, and we'll try to get a weak king to some king X to fold, some ace X at floaty to fold. But a lot of the time we're going to have like jack queen of diamonds. Those are the hands that we're wanting to kind of fold a lot of the time, you know what I mean? In that case, I think he has like king X and stuff like that, but it's a spot where we're overbetting that turn a hell of a lot. And I didn't want to check back the 7s and then bluff catch river, so. Okay, actually we'll set out next big blind on both of them so the video doesn't run too long. And jack 6 is just a fold no matter what happens here, so we'll just fold now. Aces is obviously going to be a 3-bet. Or a 4-bet. This kills your action, doesn't it? Just kills your action, because now no matter what you do looks pretty strong. Like, and I'm not flattened, so I'm not flat calling this, so it's just whatever you do looks pretty strong. I'm not going to get paid most of the time, and that's okay. Ace 3 under the gun's a fold. I'd usually open it, but it's a fold. Ace 5 you can open. Same with 4 6. Okay, that's that table set out. Deuce 10 in the small line isn't that great. 4 10, same thing. King 10 off. It's technically a fold in the hijack. We'll stick to it now. It's pretty tight, but this is how people play, like, so. And that's just how both tables. So yeah, that's just 2NL rush. So we ended up like, well, almost a buy-in, like 90 big blinds or something like that. Thereabouts. But I feel like I would have won a lot more spots if I would play the way that I think would be correct. But once again, that's because I've got experience to do that. It takes a long time to be able to be that confident about it. For now, just focus on being a bit tight, a bit nitty, but theoretically sound.